more data here, and let's go to game 2. It's going to be on Towers of Doom, chosen again by Team Freedom. It is generally their second pick of Battleground to go to Towers of Doom, but it's not a place that Superstars are wholly unfamiliar with, right? They've played a fair amount of Towers of Doom games. I'm looking at 2 right now. They haven't played any in Part 2 so far, but maybe that will give them an edge yet again in the draft.
Biggest thing here has got to be the Aperture was a problem on a map like Sky. It will definitely be a problem on a map like Towers of Doom. A lot slower paced.
Medivh.
And Medivh. Yeah, Medivh is going to be another one here. So we know that Superstar is his first pick. And this is where a bit of the problem kind of unfolds. If they go the Aperture route, they essentially volunteer to a weak early game into a very formidable team. So instead, they're going to be the Medivh bans. But this is what I'm saying. I wouldn't mind if Aperture was let through by Team Freedom there, just because it's a slow early game into Superstars who already struggle with early game play. It would just be picking something, though, don't get me wrong, Aperture is amazing on Towers. You got to consider the team strengths as well.
I agree. But maybe the fear is the double Genji potentially.
There's a lot of things to be afraid of.
But it does allow Tassadar and potentially Task Tracer through, but it also gives Team Freedom their Genji. So maybe that was the opportunity to show a task, allow a task through, and then know that you'll be able to get not only ATC, but Team Freedom's Genji.
Get yourself a nice little Genji there for Freedom. So Superstars, what direction do they go? The only thing I hope not to see is the Dahaka, even though I feel like there's about 100% chance I see the Dahaka here. We saw in the last draft with the high Tassadar transition to the Dahaka, we talked about the awkwardness of kind of the pick and the changes. I feel like part of it was also the compositional era when you have the Dahaka Tassadar. Both of you are kind of like, who's going to be the one going in? And if you go that avenue, I feel like you got to go Force Wall. You know, you can't go the traditional damage dealer. I get why they avoided it in the last game because of the Medivh and so many just, I mean, tools and people who just didn't really care about Force Wall. But it does feel like something has to change, at least from draft number 1 to draft number 2. It's going to be with that high Lunara for Superstars. Not so much a change, at least for when it goes to playstyles overall, but it is a change when looking at draft between game 1 and 2.
That does mean that Dahaka won't be on the table or available to them when we get to those final 2 picks for Superstars. So we'll see how flexible they are now in this role, because obviously that's the role that we're trying to figure out, is that off-lane hero. And in general, the meta is starting to shift for North America to not be always that is a secondary warrior. Dahaka is still very high up, but Malthael is coming into play a lot more. We haven't seen too much Illidan, but there are still teams that will play it. Team Freedom undoubtedly is one of them. Team
Freedom is undoubtedly one of them. And with a lot of the North American teams shifting away from that side role and changing who we're putting into that side role, I think that's a really good point looking forward for the rest of the split. If the meta keeps going melee-centric, yes, those teams that overreacted, maybe overreacted, we'll find out. The changes they made according to the meta and neglecting the melees, going with that secondary warrior and putting on the side soak,
yes,
it suddenly could be like, well, the meta is all about the melees, what's going to happen? And you know, certain players have had to deal with that in the past. I think a perfect example of a player who's just blatantly choose a meta can tell you how good his team was, especially very early on, was like a player like Glaurung. You know, but the difference between Glaurung and everybody else is Glaurung stuck to what he knew. He was very much sticking to the core of like what he thought was true. He didn't get the fluctuation. He built teams around him to make up for it when it sucked. But when the meta got melee focus, suddenly Glaurung looks like a whole new player. And so it's very, I think more teams are going to have that exact same problem or pro, depending on how the meta favors them.
This is one of them. Superstars is one of them because they have Stray and Airho. Tempo Storm is another that we don't really know how that's going to work out, because it's the last time we saw them, they did have Fury back on the side laning role. And there is another, Lag Force is a great example too. They put B-Kid, although we have already seen B-Kid change up and play Malthael. Yeah, Zagara. So we've seen some changes there, but I think it's great that Team Freedom is testing that right now with Superstars by banning Malthael and picking up Dahaka.
And suddenly things get a little weird now. Superstars, what is going to be the choice? How far does Team Freedom push Superstars, which is only scarier knowing our Superstars down a game. We know Team Freedom's such a formidable opponent. They go with the Garrosh and the Arthas. double warrior. A lot of peel. Not so much damage. Well, it's just long, sustained team fights and out-heal your opponents. I want a really offensive support here. What am I thinking? Not... It's going to be the Uther, probably, but I don't want it to be the Uther. Uther is only for ETC. If you pick Uther, it's for Genji or for ETC to win the fight immediately. Every other pick is with the intent for taking a fight for a little bit more long sustaining like Superstars would.
I don't know, though. Uther into Lunara. There's a lot of self-sustain. You could get Prog Rock again. Yeah, I'm kind of feeling the Lucio again.
Lucio every game. That's how I felt.
His music's playing. It only seems fitting.
I mean, think about Collusion, how good he felt at the core dancing by himself last game. He's got to feel that again.
Yeah, he does.
Love that hair.
Oh, thank you.
On the Lucio skin, not you. You're just, you're amazed at how fast I was ready just to shut you down.
You did. You called it.
Yep. I'm prepared. Essentially, what I'm admitting now is I've spent so much time to you that I can predict when you're about to come up with something clever and sassy, and I'm just ready to shut it down.
No.
Not today. I'm not having any of that. Team Freedom's not having any of that.
They've got just about every single pick they would want. Maybe they would have loved Rhaegar over Lucio, but you know what? I don't think Collusion minds too much playing the Lucio again.
I definitely wouldn't. I can tell you as a guy who's played a lot of Rhaegar and not as much Lucio as I'd like to competitively, as in Zero, but I will say that I feel like Lucio has to be more fun. Absolutely. You get to ride walls. There's a mini-game everywhere you go. Think about it. Like, even on Towers of Doom alone, think about the top left altars, that little shrub, the little horseshoe section. You can see how fast you can go in circles. How many laps can you get done in 30 seconds? I don't know.
10.
Today we can find out.
Yeah, I don't think that we're going to see that from Collusion.
You're probably right.
He's probably going to play the game.
Yeah, and Accelerando is also a talent that would really make that a lot easier. So I feel like our number and gauge is already off. And number 2, he probably does have more important things. You are correct.
What about Slip? If everyone goes in there and allows him to just go really fast?
Ooh, I haven't even thought about if Slip got introduced. I was on the Accelerando hype train.
Two thumbs up to that strategy from the desk right here. What do you think about comps? Do you have, we know everything Team Freedom has, they love. They've got Genji, they have ETC, they've got their Dahaka for side laning. Oh, okay, hold on, because we're ready for the game, and then we'll get your thoughts on both of the comps. Let's do it. Let's get into game number 2, Team Freedom versus Superstars on Towers of Doom. All right, go.
What am I going with, team?
Just what do you think of the comps?
What do I think of the comps?
Yeah.
So I honestly enjoy a lot of the compositions that Superstars kind of develops into that double poison, double long sustained team fight focus playstyles. I honestly just don't necessarily maybe enjoy the cases and times that they bring them out here. And this is a kind of another one here. Team Freedom has an insane amount of lockdown. They have a pretty realistic amount of mobility across the board when looking at their heroes. They have threat on both the front line and the back line. They have sustained DPS. They've got burst DPS. Superstars has sustained DPS. See, now, I'm no, wizard here, but I noticed that there was a lot more time on the pros list of Team Freedom's comp than that of Superstars. And most of the time when that is the case, it's not a good deal, especially when you are not the, more formidable team, the more dominant team, like Team Freedom is here over Superstars. Superstars, though, opens up with a 3-man Howling Blast, 4-man dragged back from Urho.
Nearly to his death. Man, if they can keep those combos going of abilities, then maybe they'll have a shot at being able to get kills. We look at Leaping Strike, maybe for Yoda. Splintered Spear, too, but she's not against an Uther. This is an area of effect healing machine known as Lucio.
Lucio is very, very effective at the AoE supporting, even more so post-16. He kind of always is more invisible value through the mobility than he is the healing. Hold on, talking about invisible value is going to be Zugrug in the shrub. Power slides through. Urho doesn't have enough armor to be able to out-shield up that one, and he goes down first blood for Team Freedom.
Zugrug in the shrub sounds like a children's book.
Zugrug in the shrub.
With a bug.
Yeah, you are correct. It kind of does. And we learned the lesson of sharing through the shrub.
Yeah.
You gotta,
Everyone should have time to hang out in the shrub, including Cure and Saray and Hosty.
They aren't necessarily doing the greatest of job of sharing here, but they at least are displaying thoroughly how to be able to get the kills here on Towers of Doom. 28 seconds until we get the very first altar set. And like clockwork here in North America, we're going to start up these bottom sappers. Dansky gets the invade. Urho unable to get the pull on in.
Capped almost at the exact same time. And now the altar wars begin. Dahaka can move into a position in the top. Superstars does not have a global hero, which then favors Team Freedom with their Dahaka. Arthas gets forward to get his altar. Tassadar is going to check, try to interrupt Cure if he can a few times, and this will make sure to get some time for Arthas potentially to move down, but instead we see Garrosh, Tassadar, and Arthas moving over for the steal. That means in the bottom, Team Freedom still got theirs. It's all up to this final left-hand shrine.
Oh my, but Kira's going to actually move in and try and get this interrupt. Everybody's making the transition upward. This is a full collapse for Team Freedom. The pull did land onto Kira. Dansky's there throwing out the shuriken. The members are retreated now. Team Freedom are going to start the channel. Sray unable to get the interrupt. Icona, sad day, man, but you are not able to get that 1v1. Wolf versus Wolf. Support does not reign victor
any longer, and they might have been able to get that kill, but now instead Drag comes in and goes down for Erho. So he will be the one to fall in all of this trade. But still very close game between the teams. Only 2 kills to the 1 of Superstars, getting that earlier Dahaka pick. And Superstars trying to change up the strategy, right? They know that they had the disadvantage to the global. So again, we're seeing them make early game changes, adaptations to make their composition more favorable.
So we started this game, and you asked me a lot of like, I didn't really like the composition from Superstars. I've changed my mind under one case, and I've not seen much of an argument for it. And most compositions, but what that is just avoiding the AoE taunt. Every single team has been, I'm not feeling like the cleave is necessarily that amazing by any means. The slow is pretty cool, the damage is reasonable, but just something else has to be the scary monster here with their composition. I just don't feel like more lockdown is the thing to give them the upper edge over Team Freedom. And I kind of like the idea of Arthas slowing everybody down. You get in the AoE damage.
Well, what about Bloodlust this game?
You know, hold on a minute here. Look at this invade. The punishment here from from Team Freedom here over Superstar's aggression. Sray is going down. The shielding onto Garrosh is not enough. He makes it out. They show mercy. Not going to focus onto him. Instead onto Tass. The dimensional shift makes it out. Maybe the Bloodlust, but then you have to go into the Force Wall. I don't know. Maybe it's I just don't want to see the taunt out of Garrosh more than anything, because all the other arguments for more damage, I kind of go, probably not. But I think it's probably my lack of confidence of what can and can't you get away with on Garrosh compared to I know what Bloodlust is going to make happen. And it's just more a solid flat, probably not, compared to the other.
Yeah. I don't know. If you take Leaping Strike, you've got Army of the Dead. You've got Kala's Light for extra armor. Garrosh is really the only one who doesn't have any self-sustain, but even as I say that, he's got all of his armor and he took Indomitable, so maybe they just take Bloodlust and they try to rush down all the members of Team Freedom.
Might be the thought. Into the Fray was used there.
Cleanse.
Couple defenses. Cure's in a bad spot, but Yoda receives so much pressure there from Dansky. I do believe that was within the time frame to get the reset. Zugrug's under pressure. Power slides on through. Sets aside a knockback. Urho unable to get that pull through. Dansky will get this channel.
Collusion chasing off Arthas to the north of the battleground, and Team Freedom are starting to pull ahead, both in experience and in their core health. 36 to the 24 of Superstars as both teams try to gear up for heroic abilities. And even though this game is much like the last one in that the early game, Superstars were able to keep up with Team Freedom. Team Freedom's starting to get into that position where they can get a really good lead and then just snowball it for a quick victory.
Yeah, this game is definitely primed to be a very dominant win for Team Freedom so far. To have that 12-shot lead this early on and a full level to boot, I mean, realistically here, Superstars has just got to find a way to get the upper hand, catch off guard the members of Team Freedom. And it's not like this map is one that promotes, you know, risky transitions, rotations. It does kind of benefit the team ahead, much like the last map did of Sky Temple. So where Superstars finds a way to come back, we do not know. But starting off with the survivability of Yoda is, you know, it's got to be a nice start.
And the forcing of cleanse so that he can get back. Hosty comes in. He's got the slow on Nasmus. But Arthas is in the top. Genji and Dahaka are just soaking to give Team Freedom heroic abilities. And that'll be the end of Superstars getting into an engagement unless Team Freedom can force something until they can get heroics too. Mosh Pit over the stage dive. And go for the throat over Cursed Bullet.
I think I've managed to figure out why I'm so struggling with Superstars composition and chances throughout this game. And it's engageless warriors into Lucio's don't stand a chance. They just cannot keep up. It's the equivalent of having like a Medivh composition versus a comp with no initiation. Kira got flipped, not within turret range, so he didn't eat the debuff. It's going to be just fine here on the Dahaka. 13 more seconds before the Shrine phase spawns, but just watch when the initiations happen. When Superstars actually gets the fight they want, sound barriers used. The next time that fight happens to where Superstars tries to force, they should just, Team Freedom be nowhere to be found.
Speed away.
Just fly right on through, and then wait for the cooldowns to come back up, reinitiate again. It's very easy to pick your fight as Lucio, and oftentimes as a support, you can't really say that.
Here comes the Dragon Blade. Mosh Pit catches one. But he has the help of Rhaegar to make sure to get out of that.
That's 4 heroics for Team Freedom and no kill gained yet, but they did end up finding Iacon to go for the throw, got the secondary proc, but no kill for Hosty. Dansky poking away, throwing out the Shuriken. The focus is on to Garrosh, but 40 armor. Too big of a deterrent. Knockback used. No pull available for Urho. That for sure would have been kills for Team Freedom. Look at Dansky.
Takes down Tassadar.
He's
then
not
gets
done.
Lunara thanks to the force of will.
Wait,
May
where's
still
Lucio?
go down. Lucio coming in, boost again, trying to get the heal.
He did it! Operation Save Dansky.
He even sound waved. Like, here's all of my buttons. I'm pressing them. Just live.
Collusion saved some of that energy he was distributing in the last series over to Space Station Gaming, and instead energy just transferred right there to keep his team alive. He did it. Mission accomplished. Gilly, though, that was a small, you know, kind of enjoyable victory here for Team Freedom, and though we are making light of it, Superstars is miles behind in this game.
Yes.
They are, I mean, not at the point of irrecoverable, but very much kind of walking the line, treading it closer than they would like to.
And the thing that looked really good in that last fight was Yoda and the amount of poison damage he put onto Team Freedom. And that's sort of on the clock too. Lucio ramps up even further with the next talent tier. He can get Rejuvenescencia and has a ton of healing from that. He can get potentially Bossa Nova, or even having the switching of tracks to try to make sure that he gets both the speeding and the full-on heal off of his Amp It Up. So it feels like a limited amount of time for Superstars to get a lot out of that Lunara Poison. It will continue to scale up into the later game, but if that's all they're relying on, Team Freedom gets a lot to deal with that as they continue to scale up too.
Yeah, they very much have tools to be able to answer into that soul Lunara damage. And Team Freedom, and specifically that Lucio, you are right, is a huge point. We talked about at the very end where I was like, statements I'm not used to saying. It's like, how about the Uther here? Like, what are we going to do? I like the Lucio a bit more, and we were fearful of exactly that. Yoda, his scaling in the later stages, and because that Lucio was a pick instead of the Uther, suddenly it is a lot easier mid stages here. But talking about the mid stage is going to be a mid stage fight. Dansky gets first kill, goes in for a second.
Yikes! That's so much damage.
If he's cyber agilities, he's got it. I thought for sure he would have the confidence to move into that one.
Maybe because he saw the shield there and knew that the armor would come in as soon as he dropped the shield. It was enough of a deterrent, and the bell tower having plenty of ammo left. Either way, 1 kill was already taken. Team Freedom have the ability to get this altar for free and can continue trying to whittle down the bell towers of Superstars.
When does it stop? The
when it hits
siege.
0?
Yeah, but I'm trying to,
figure out when does it stop for Superstars to get back into the game.
Like I'm trying to be the nice guy here, Gilly, okay? So if you could just go ahead and stop saying the literal objective truth that is for the hard-hitting analysis like myself,
That's
that
fair.
would be fine. Okay? Thanks.
My apologies.
You just let me do my job. I'd really appreciate it.
More lockdown for Arthas with the root at 16. Remorseless Winter. Double Psy Storms help out with more damage at 16. I don't know, man. We just haven't seen a whole lot of pulls be able to work out to the advantage of Superstars. There's not a lot of lockdown unless Arthas and Garrosh are both there, and generally Arthas and Garrosh are not both there because Arthas has to be side-soaking against the Dahaka.
Urho's in a bad spot. Dansky comes in with the Swift Strike. 33 armor and counting, so Urho's fine. Arthas halfway made the transition down. Superstars just lost the last fight they were going to get on even Talontiers up until the fight pre-20, which is still going to be, I mean, if that moment even exists, somehow the game gets to that point in time, it is still going to be a very disadvantaged fight for the members of Superstars. As we round the 5th altar phase, all 3 altars spawning, and it legitimately could not have come at worse time for Superstars.
Yeah, Dahaka did a ton of damage to the mid-bell tower before Tassadar finally could rotate in and save it. But with 4 shots per altar, we're looking at within lethal range after getting all 3 of those. The best benefit for Superstars is maybe try to just safely keep some members at bay here in the bottom. Allow Arthas to at least get theirs, and he will get it, so Stray picks that up. Dahaka's immediately going to come in now. They've got to get Yoda out. Leaping Strike.
He's going to be fine for now. Cure does not connect with that drag. Nasmus ended up getting the follow-up for a second there. Now they realize not maybe the fight, or at least as clean as they were hoping. Zugrug gets flipped over, but he's an ETC. He's comfortable with that. Dansky even comes in to join. Drag landed. Iconic using the cleanse.
And Indomitable too, but that was what Superstars were aiming to do, which was just not lose all 3 of those altars. Then they'll be at 8 instead of 4 and then have to deal with an immediate boss fight without 16. Mosh Pit, Ancestral though, and another Leaping Strike, and Yoda's fine.
Urho gets the taunt onto 1. The damage is not there from Iacona getting that bite. The drag lands. Dansky gets a reset numero uno. Does he find a second? No. Deflect. Leaping Strike. He's dead. Now Yoda's getting aggressive. Tassadar looking to join in. The drag goes onto him. Dimensional Shift could be used offensively here. He's going to go ahead and Archon. Poking away into Nasmus. Was Dimensional Shift already used?
Once you go into Archon, you get it.
I know, but was it used before he used Archon?
Oh, I didn't see. I was watching Yoda.
All right. I just wanted to say that if, I don't know if the cooldown was available. Well, let's say it was. Anybody at home, if you're in that case and you know you're going to use Archon, always drop the Dimensional Shift. Dimensional Shift offensively there, and then you use the Archon and then use your second one defensively if you need to. But make your Archon in proper position because he used the Archon and then they walked away. That is exactly what the members of Freedom wanted. They just got a 100-second cooldown.
Yeah, you can use that movement speed that you get from Dimensional Shift to set you up in a better position because you get that immediate shield once you go into Archon, and so getting into position where you can continue to slow them down then enables Yoda to keep putting the poison on, which gives more slows with Crippling Spores. Superstars at least made it to 16 and did not lose more than the 8 health. They were able to get the 1 altar, even though they were trying as hard as they could to fight it out. That power slide from Zugrug saved the life of Greymane.
Is it just me, or does it feel like Dansky's Genji literally does 3 times more damage than every other Genji?
I know, it's so good.
It's like, even just that strike there, I was like, does he have a stat advantage I'm missing? Like, is there a talent tier? Like, am I, hello? He's just doing so much damage every time he switch strikes in. And he's doing like double that of everybody else. Granted, he is doing a lot of baby things right, which I feel like are too hard to highlight just by me describing, but it's mainly the positioning of his max range shuriken, his Dragon Blades, and more importantly, his switch strikes. But here he goes. Dragon Blade's online. Ancestral does land to Yoda, but Urho is the focus. Reset 1, Mosh Pit locking down 2.
Slicing and dicing everyone through with the Mosh Pit and the Dragon Blade. 3 kills. Yoda in danger. Using Leaping Strike and the help of Hosty with the damage, but even with that, there are still 2 altars available. Team Freedom gets 1, setting the core of Superstars to 4. And they should be able to take the last altar and end the game.
Stat pattern over there. Not really. Team Freedom takes game 2 after Cure with the very offensive zone and take a lead 2-0. Superstars, I want to say that I didn't expect this. is really, honestly, that's all I wanted. Like, that's all I can feel like I can say at this point. There hasn't been enough adjustments when it comes to the draft, much like of last week. You know, we keep hearing the when is the change going to come in for them, and yes, they are trying to get that through role swaps, but it's apparent that the drafting style has gotten more and more rigid as time has gone on, which it feels maybe kind of counterintuitive to their end game goal. I don't know. You can tell something still isn't clicking. The cogs not necessarily aligning in the way that they wanted to, and still finding this lack of recovery from them.
I think the leaving of Dahaka to the bans and then Team Freedom being able to pick it up really hurt them.
You are right.
You could see that they felt so how important it was to keep Arthas soaking, and there were a lot of times with Arthas being the primary follow-up to the throws of Garrosh that they had nothing to lock them down, even if somebody was thrown. So that synergy wasn't available there, and that is the same thing that kind of happened to them on Sky. They were focused a lot on making sure that they were split soaking, and so they didn't have everybody there. And so maybe making sure that they at least have Dahaka once again so that he can be doing that until right when the fight starts and stock in. Maybe that'll make more of a difference, but Freedom just outplayed them with that global, and that puts them up 2-0 so far in the series. We'll see what Superstars can do to remedy that after this break. Stick with us.